at the EYT Media offices with Clarion County Commissioner Wayne Brosius, who's running for re-election in our segment here on the candidates for the 2015 election. Wayne, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Chris. The only thing I was nervous about was the TV aspect, because everybody's always told me that I had a face for radio.
Well, now you're getting the other aspect of it. So,
yeah.
Wayne, if you're re-elected, what would be your first priority in your second term as commissioner?
Well, I want to keep things going as is, keeping things running efficient, low costs, and of course we do have our buildings issue that we're dealing with right now, and getting the new 911 center project rolling.
That really leads into the next question, which is about the 911 center. You've been on the record supporting the current plan is put forth. What makes you believe that what you guys have come up with is the best way to go with the 911 center?
Well, currently where the 911 center and OES offices are, and by the way, it is more than a 911 center. There will be OES offices for those that have the positions in emergency services. This is one of the more important things that a county is charged with, is emergency services and 911 as put forth by the state. Pretty much everything that we do at the county level is mandated by a higher level of government, either state or federal. So when people talk about costs and things like that, well, I'd cut government spending, our hands are really tied in most aspects. All you can do is run it as efficiently and cost effective as you can. So with the 911 center being right now in the old jail beside the courthouse, I don't really believe that should have ever been put in there in the first place, but that was a decision that was made years ago, and I don't know exactly what the circumstances were at that time. But it's a very old structure, as you know. It was built as a jail, and that's what the building was meant to be. So to put offices in there, conference rooms, have an emergency operations center in there in case of an emergency, which is another function of this building, and a big conference room for that, was not very well suited for that. Very inefficient, and over the long term, not cost effective. So the best way to fix the problem is to start with a new structure that is built for the purpose. And that is the reasoning behind looking for a new structure for the 911 center. For the long-term goal, which is to save money in the long term and make it as efficient as possible, and make it so that the citizens of Clarion County are as safe as possible.
When you talk about the efficiency in something like that, what do you mean by that?
Well, all of the space will be used and utilized for what it's used. We can put special flooring in a building like this so that you have space in the bottom. You can make it so that it can be changed in the future for any future changes or purposes, because things are always changing, and you want to have a structure that would be a little more fluid and adaptable for future uses.
What role do you see, if any, the county commissioners can play in economic development?
Well, this is always a big topic in things like this. And I've always said, even when I was running 4 years ago, that it's a little bit overstated as to what the commissioners can actually do in this respect. Our main purpose as commissioners is to be the fiduciary and budgetary controllers of the county government and the county budget. It's largely an administrative role, overseeing staff, other departments, and department heads. And we don't want to get into everything that the county does, but we're talking about things like 911 emergency services, assessment of properties, collecting taxes when people are late with taxes, running the jail, and of course human services, another big aspect of county government, and the court system. none of those really play a direct role in bringing jobs to the area. We do have some tools that we can use for this, and we have been proactive in this over the last 4 years. Mainly, one of the things that we have is CDBG money. That's Community Development Block Grants. And this is money that is received from higher levels of government, and the commissioners decide what that money is used for and what projects in the county. So if a municipality wants to, say, do something, or maybe a sewage association to upgrade something in their community, they can apply to the county for some of this money, and then we pick the projects that we deem the most important in the county and go with that. Now, we have kind of focused that more towards economic development, because in the past a lot of that money was used for things like, say, sidewalk repairs in a town. We thought, as commissioners, how does that really affect economic development, and how is that going to make a business come to that community? So we haven't been funneling that money towards projects like that. We've been kind of funneling it more towards the basic infrastructure for communities that would make it better for a business to move in and grow development.
Have you guys seen any successes with businesses moving into the county in the 4 years you've been commissioner?
Well, absolutely. There's a lot of positive news out there. I know you hear a lot of negative and negative spin on that subject. You know, obviously we lost OI and Sealy, and those were the big ones. But those were already announced, or they were already closed when we came into office 4 years ago. Unemployment at that time was around 12% in the county, and it's less than half that right now, so things have gotten better. New businesses have come in and thrived. We've had the polymer plant open, the cookie factory reopened in Reimersburg. Smuckers had announced they were leaving. They changed their mind. They are staying in New Bethlehem. And of course, the housing industry has rebounded greatly, and they are now hiring. Most of the problem now is people finding enough workers for the jobs. You probably see help wanted signs out all across the county now, and that's kind of a good sign as far as the job climate. And lots of small businesses have opened. Downtown Clarion, I believe, has rebounded nicely with, you know, a new clothing store, yogurt store, a new financial advisor, barber shop. We have a new car dealer in town, and the list goes on and on. So things are looking good, and I think the main thing is we want to focus on the good and make it sound like we have a thriving community, which we do, and not always talk about negative things, because if somebody's here scoping out the area to move here, and they're sitting next to somebody in a restaurant and all they're talking about is how bad everything is, how's that going to help influence their decision to come here?
Well, you say that, and yet recently you were quoted as saying that a lot of businesses have trouble finding people because they can't pass the drug test. And you said, and these are your numbers, that 50% to 70% of applicants for jobs in Clarion County cannot pass the drug test. And I guess the first question would be, where did those numbers come from? Because I don't know if that information is readily available to the general public. So I'm just curious where you got that number from, and if that number is solid, what can be done to combat that problem?
Well, that number is not really a big study. This is just what I've been hearing from business people in the area, and those were numbers that they've given me. And I kind of rounded it, you know, because different people say different things. But that drugs are an issue in the area, and I think when I was talking about that, I was asked directly about the problem. And so, like I said, I try to stay positive, but once in a while, you have to address negatives. That is one negative, not only in this area, but all across the state and probably nationwide, is drug use is up, and it is an issue. Now, I sit on the Armstrong, Indiana Clarion Drug and Alcohol Commission board, and have learned a lot about this issue over the last 4 years. They work diligently on this problem, and I continue to help them in that. I think we just need to instill more traditional values on people, especially the young people coming up, that this is not the way to go, and get that education out there. and so that employers have more of a pool to go to for job
And that
openings.
always sounds good when people talk about instilling values like that, but how do we actually do that as a community?
Well, it starts with the family. You have to have a strong family, and the family, to be quite blunt, is broken these days. It's not like it used to be. And I think if you have a strong family structure, that goes a long ways to solve a lot of the problems that this country has right now.
Well, Wayne, thanks for joining us. Good luck in the election.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.